Welcome to the first video of my AP Banned Books series. The American Library Association reported that in 2023, there were more banned books than there ever have been. And with Trump declaring he's going to get rid of the Department of Education, it is going to be very hard for teachers, especially in red states, to teach banned books. Which is why I'm starting this series, so I hope you guys will follow me on this journey as I figure out the structure, because AP classes usually take a few weeks to teach one book, and I am trying to teach one book in just one video. Though I'm happy to make more on a singular book if people have questions. So let's get started. The book we are going to be talking about today is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I'm going to give you some biographical information about the book and the author, then a brief summary of the book, spoilers ahead, key themes in the book, and then some literary techniques and devices. So Fahrenheit 451 came out in 1953. At first it was classified as just science fiction, but really it's a dystopian novel. The author Ray Bradbury was born in 1920 and graduated high school in 1938 and did not go to college actually. He went straight on to being a writer, and he was very influenced by the changing of technology around him in the 50s, especially the rise of television. Bradbury was getting increasingly disturbed by the amount of influence television was beginning to have over people. There was a saying in the 50s that you could tell who was home by who had the lights on, but now with televisions, because they were black and white, you had to turn the lights off to be able to get a good picture. And that metaphor of people being in the dark is what inspired Ray Bradbury. He thought if people keep watching television, if they become so addicted to it, what's going to happen to books? Nobody will read anymore, he thought. He fell down a rabbit hole of what ifs, what if nobody read, and that led to what if firemen didn't save houses if they didn't put out fires, but they started them. Which is when Bradbury called the Los Angeles Fire Department and got the famous title for the book. He asked, what degree does paper burn? And they answered, Fahrenheit 451. To briefly summarize a very brief book already, it is less than 300 pages. The main character is Guy Montag. He is a fireman who doesn't put out fires but starts them. In this futuristic society, firemen are called to burn books. If someone has a book, it gets reported, the firemen come and they burn their house down. People don't read anymore, but instead watch television on these ceiling to floor televisions that wrap around all four walls. And there are no speed limits for cars. Basically, anything is possible to keep people from feeling, which is why books were banned in the first place. Guy's boss Beatty tells us that books were banned because people were getting very offended by the content that was in the books. They were getting very upset by them, so authors stopped writing stuff that was offensive or upsetting. All books became very similar, and there just really wasn't a point to having books around anymore if it was just causing people to get really upset. So we follow Guy on his journey through this type of society where pretty much everyone he meets is incredibly superficial. At one point in the book, he talks about how empty his room is, and then his wife Mildred walks in and he reiterates that it is indeed empty because she is just so superficial. She spends all her time with her televised fake family in the television room. That is until Guy meets his new neighbor Clarice, who is a teenage girl who asks a lot of inquisitive questions. She very much challenges Guy's point of view about the world, and we later find out that her family has been hoarding books. Unfortunately though, Clarice is killed by a speeding car, and Guy's wife Mildred overdoses on sleeping pills. She doesn't die, and we learn that incidents like the speeding car and Mildred overdosing are quite common because people will do anything not to feel. Eventually, Guy starts to take books from the houses and start reading them to learn what people are so upset about. And while yes, the books do make him sad, they make him feel. And that's better than that nothing that he's been living with his entire life. The book ends with Guy's secret stash of books being discovered. His boss forces him to burn down his own house and arrests him. Guy kills him and escapes, and seeks to start a new society with other book lovers. That is a very, ironically, surface-level summary of this book. I highly recommend reading it for yourself because Bradbury very intentionally uses figurative language. He describes the fire hose he uses as a python that spits its venomous kerosene all over the world. Metaphors like these are used to show how everyday objects, or seemingly benign tools of everyday life, can, under different circumstances, be very dangerous. Another metaphor in the book summarizes the theme very well. The quote says, "A book is a loaded gun in the house next door. Burn it. Take the shot from the weapon. Breach man's mind. Who knows who might be the target of the well-read man?" The main theme of the book is that censorship is dangerous. Even though its main goal of it is to protect people, by protecting people, making them numb and ignorant, they rob them of the full capacity of experience, of life, of emotion. While you're reading the book, which I highly recommend you do with all this knowledge in your mind, keep an eye out for how fire is used as a motif. A motif is a recurring symbol or message throughout the book that changes as the story progresses. How fire goes from a tool for destruction to being compared to the sun, a fire that keeps all the world alive. Here are some supplementary questions to think about when you're reading. Why are these people so dependent on technology? What does it mean to be a rebel, and how does this book challenge what our preconceived notion of a rebel is? Especially in characters like Clarice. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer all of them. Comment which banned book you'd like me to talk about in an AP style next.